Namaste. Welcome to Jack Colley's Black Book. This is episode 53, and we are continuing to talk about the Christmas album Jeanette, Isabella, A Christmas Love Story. And today we talk about track 2, which is It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. So we left off track 1, which was In the Bleak Midwinter, which set up Earth is frozen, it's hard as stone. It's just this. It's really a beautiful Christmas carol that you should listen to. And but now we have this announcement. We have this second track on this album, which is It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. And what I want to do is I want to remind you that Jeanette and Isabella are metaphors or personifications of grace and consecration or oath. And so the name Jeanette means grace, and the name Isabella means consecration or oath. And these two things somehow work together for salvation in the Christian tradition. At least that's my understanding right now. And so this particular track 2, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear, which has some lyrical liberties that I took to better fit the narrative, but it opens up with, what a lot of people are familiar with this particular Christmas carol. Peace on the earth, goodwill to you, from heaven's all gracious King, the world in solemn stillness lay, as Isabella sings. And so the world in solemn stillness lay, that's track 1. That's In the Bleak Midwinter. And this is when the search begins. This is when you have the bleak midwinter and you hear this voice, this singing way off in the distance, this singing that is representing this interplay between grace and consecration and oath. And Isabella and Jeanette become increasingly aware of their need for the other. And so picture this scene where the earth is frozen from track 1, and picture what I like, which is in Michigan when we have these really cold nights. We had one just a couple nights ago where the sky was clear and I could look out the window and there was enough sunlight bouncing off the moon, and this was late at night, I don't know, 1 or 2 a.m., and you can see shadows on the ground. And it's that type of light in the winter, these beautiful winter nights where you can, it's very cold outside and yet there's light. And picture this, because here is verse 2. It says, still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled. So this is talking about the angels descending. And cloven skies mean divided skies. And so if you think about a really cold winter night, where there's shadows on the ground, the moon, and all of a sudden the sky just breaks into two. It's like the firmament, the firmament divides, and through this division, the angels descend onto earth, onto the manger scene. That's kind of the image that we have here. And meanwhile, there's the peaceful wings are unfurled. And I love that image because if you think about angels and the size of their wings and a lot of art, angel wings are huge and they're unfurled and they're unfurled in peace. They're peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats over all the weary world. And so we have this image of Mother Earth is at work, and Mother Earth being the solemn earth at night. And then we have Father God at work, which is the sky breaks into and all of the angels descend over this manger scene. And their wings are unfurled. I have an image here I'll show you. Their wings are unfurled. And what I really like is that phrase, it's over a weary and tired world. So keeping in mind that this is a time period where there was occupation, where there was genocide, where there was all of these horrific things going on, and meanwhile, in the middle of nowhere, I guess you would say, in the Christian tradition, the entirety of God incarnates into an infant at kind of this perfect time. or amidst this perfect storm, or amidst this frozen earth. And this is an important image right here. Now, I did change one little lyric in here, and because in the original song, the angels touch their harps of gold. And I did bring in an element of sexuality here, because there's this attraction between Jeanette and Isabella, like this magnetic pulling, slowly pulling together, this attraction, this need. And I thought that it would be appropriate to say touched her harp of gold, to bring in kind of that idea of this initial attraction. I also think that this is important because, again, I adjusted the words a little bit. She came upon a midnight clear with glorious songs of old, with an angel bending near the earth to touch her harp of gold. And there is this idea that I wanted to have, yes, the initial attraction, which I think is true in any type of intimate relationship, but I also wanted to set the stage for this intimacy being much more than just, I'm just going to say, genital sex. I think we get hung up on that. I think still when you look at the political debates between who can have a relationship with who, I think we get so hung up on, well, does it have to be two penises or two vaginas, or a penis and a vagina? And we completely miss the beautiful complexity of intimacy between two people when we narrow it down just to genitals, I guess. And I wanted to start developing that, because through this album, I want to develop the love that grows between Jeanette and Isabella, which again is a metaphor for the love that develops between grace and consecration. So it's the first step of the attraction. It's the first step of the relationship. And so the angels of heaven come down and they meet Earth's chaos. So we have Father God working with Mother Earth. We have structure entering chaos. We have all of these dynamic things going on that we as humans, we have to see both sides of in order to appreciate. So the next verse goes, with the woes of sin and strife, the world has suffered so long. Beneath the angels' strain have rolled 10,000 years of wrong. I mean, think about that image. For the last 10,000 years, take all of the wrong that has been done over the last 10,000 years, and these angels descend upon all of the wrong of the last 10,000 years. I mean, think about if we can say that today, and that it's rolled up, and the angels descend upon it. All of these strains of angels descend upon all of this wrong that has occurred over 10,000 years and built up. And then we have this really interesting phrase too. And I think that this is really important in America, because we tend to love our violence and we tend to love our military. And I'm not going to go into the necessity of having a warrior class, because I recognize that there has to be a warrior class for nations. There has to be something to protect different nations. By the same token, we have to acknowledge that it is also that mentality that shuts out true love. And so here's the idea here in this particular verse. So there's men at war, and the men at war, they will never hear love songs being sung so clear. So peace to you all, you men of war, hear Isabella sing. And I rewrote this because I think in the original carol, the idea was that men at war, they're not going to hear the call to love because they're too busy protecting. And yes, that is a necessary role of part of any society. And when there's going to be multiple nations, that's going to be a necessary role. But we have to acknowledge that when you fill that role, you are also shutting out the role of love. It's this idea that let me put it this way. I don't see how somebody can exist in a situation where there's a power differential and at the same time express love. I don't see how that can occur, whether it's in a relationship, an abusive relationship, whether it's something that happens between two people where one assaults another person, or one tries to belittle or degrades another person. It's in that moment that love does not exist. I mean, love is completely shut out. And so I continue to raise the question, how does one pick up a weapon and yet also claim to have this love of the Christ that we should be embracing and pursuing? It's just a dynamic that I continue to chew on. And so Jeanette is tired in the story, and we get to this, that Jeanette is tired, and she just rests beside the road. She just decides to take a rest. And the verse goes, Jeanette, beneath life's crushing load, whose forms are bending low, she toils along the climbing way with painful steps and slow. And then in that moment, when life is crushing her, when she feels overwhelmed, she hears the voice of Isabella in the distance. So in this dark night, all of a sudden there's this voice singing. And the last part of it goes, look now for glad and golden hours, come swiftly on the wing. She rests beside the weary road, and for the first time, she clearly hears Isabella sing. So the first time, Grace hears the importance of consecration, and perhaps consecration is singing out for Grace. And we continue to have this interplay between Jeanette and Isabella in this Christmas love story. All right, namaste, my friends.